Hey everybody, this is the Justice for All podcast. My name is Randall, and
I'm Gage.
this is the second podcast of this week. We did one earlier about world affairs, and we actually have a special guest. Would you like to introduce yourself, sir?
Yeah, I'm Caleb Thomas.
Yeah, Caleb. We were having a debate the other day at work, actually, about this topic, and we just thought this would be a good podcast. It's been a hot topic lately. Well, not lately, just through generations, I'd say. And it's about abortion today. So, good thing we have women represented in this. But so moving on. So Gage, you want to do like an intro rundown kind of deal?
Yeah,
Sure.
I mean, from our previous podcast, I think you know where I stand on abortion. I'm pretty much against it, except for in the cases of, saving the mother's life or, rape or something like that. Randall, you can state your position if you want.
I think that, personally, I am pro-life. I think that from the time people know of they're going to have a child, which is about 4 weeks, because we had this conversation the other day, actually. And it was about, because that's when usually, like, if you take a pregnancy test or anything, that's when people know, there's a child, right? So I would say anything past that point, and the point which is arguably we know it's a child, I think is considered murder. I think it's wrong. But from a society standpoint, I would say that, fuck how I feel, I think we should leave it up to the people. So I would say more pro-choice, but personally, no, yeah. So. What about you, Caleb?
I don't know. I kind of think that it's the parents' decision. So I'm kind of... It's not that I'm against abortion or that I'm for it specifically, but more along the lines where I kind of feel like it kind of just depends on the situation, And so from there, how long it, like, let's say they're 6 months pregnant, compared to if they're, 4, 5, 6 weeks, I don't know. It just kind of depends, but at the same time... I think it should be up to the parents.
Yeah. And I think everyone's on this topic. I don't think there's like any right answers. I think there is a lot of depends on what you believe, really. So I'm glad that we have like a range of answers here. And this is going to be a good conversation because, I think it's important to have these kind of conversations and be really like chill about it. And that's why I was pressed to do this kind of thing because we had a pretty good conversation at work ourselves, but we seen where shit hits the fan. It can, So I think having even amongst men, I know we don't have vaginas or anything, but I think that people can really can take something away from it. So we can run through like kind of a debate as far as like we can expand on some of our points. So Gage, we can start out. Is there anything you have to say about? Why is what you're thinking the right way? And then if you want, you can kind of go ahead and dive into like mine and Caleb's thinking, or kind of see what you think is flawed in those kind of things. You know what I mean? So feel free to kind of do that. You know how we've done this kind of before. Kind of we'll say something and have rebuttals kind of deal. So
yeah. Well, first off, I want to state that, I believe with my viewpoint, the life begins at conception. So, as soon as you're conceived, that's when the life begins. As far as like other viewpoints go, the one thing that I would bring up with, with it being murder is I'm not basing my views based off of religion or anything else. I'm basing it off of whether it's murder or whether it's not murder. And I believe that it is murder. One, because you're killing a child, and two, because if you look at other laws, like say if a pregnant woman gets shot and killed, the person who shot the pregnant woman is charged with a double homicide. So, the laws kind of contradict themselves there, because one is a double homicide, but then the other is seen as okay if it's your choice to kill, your own baby, but you're still killing your own baby. So I think, the laws should be consistent, across the board, depending on, which way we're going to go with this. And the other thing is, too, a lot of people don't put value in human life, I guess, as much as other things. Like, for example, like destroying some eagle eggs or like other endangered species is considered a felony, but killing your own child is not a crime until you get up to like the third trimester, and sometimes in the second trimester, depending on what state you live in.
Sure.
But so the laws are very contradictory in a lot of instances, I think.
Right. Those are interesting points. I would say overall, for my thinking, I would say it's murder, like I said, not necessarily after someone gets pregnant. I think it's until we know they're pregnant. I think it is. I think really anything like I said, I just don't think people have the right to take away people's right to have a life initially. Even I don't think even the mothers or anybody has like an excuse either to like say like what ifs or whatever, just because it's like the circumstances might not be favorable, but I think people can make it work, and I definitely think society can make it work. I'm not saying like every solution past pregnancy, is a viable option. However, I think those are just things we can adjust. We look now, and we were actually mentioning this the other day. It's really easy to get condoms and contraceptives now. I would even be for us paying for that rather than abortions or anything like that. And there's really like 4 other things you can do before the abortion, which is like the 5th option. So I would say like contraceptives is one. Abstinence. You could raise the child or give it up for adoption. So you have the 4. There's 4 other things you can do before the abortion. I think before you get to that point, we have to weigh things. Now, I will say from the other viewpoint, because I'm trying to be like a middleman here. And I do actually believe this myself. But I think from a society standpoint, I know that there's some definitely out of whack circumstances, and I think that people definitely should have a choice if that's what they want. Like the society, we're going to choose. Then like we're not trying to shove. I'm not trying to shove religion or anything down anyone's throat, and that's not it at all. But I would say most people would say that taking a life is wrong in general, in any sense, right? I mean, for the most part. And I think once we realize these things, I think we can answer other questions later on. But I also think that I don't know the circumstances. I just don't want to pay for it, as I'm sure most people don't. I think if we're gonna say it's our choice, just own your shit and just be aware of what you're doing. We need to rationalize these things because I think being arrogant to what it is considered a living thing. I think as we agreed and we did some research on this past 4 weeks, right? So anything past that, you just have to rationalize and then it's this murder, which ending a life willingly or not is considered murder. If you're okay with that, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not saying you're sheep. Nothing like that. Like I said, we don't know circumstances. The circumstances we do know, though, more times than not, are favorable as to not to have the abortion. Whereas people will say rape or whatever, that's usually just 1% of the time. So using abortion more as a contraceptive is definitely a negative in society, I think, and doesn't benefit a lot of people anyway. So there's just a lot. And sorry, guys, I kind of went on a thing there, but that's really a broad interpretation of what I'm trying to lay out. So Caleb, let's hear your side, man. What's bullshit that me and Gage are calling?
Nothing too crazy.
No, I just.
The only thing that I kind of see it is the world's so overpopulated. So with what Gage was saying about how if you kill an endangered species, it's kind of a felony. But at the same time, it's I don't know. There's so many people, so it's not like he said your values on life, kind of, or how much you value life. So it's in my opinion, the way that I see it is I don't getting an abortion. You're not even born yet. So the way that I see it, I don't remember anything before 3-4 years old. So at the same time, I'm not saying that it's okay to do it just because of that fact, but I feel if there's a lot of just circumstances of life that people have to go through, and I know it's pretty unfortunate. Some people, they go get adopted out and they have a really rough life. They feel like they've been abandoned, this, that, they have issues with this, and so it's just one of those things that I kind of just, I don't know. Like you guys said, it's really good. It's hard to see it on both sides, and there's no right answer for it. So it's really just on your opinion. So, I just feel I hate to say, just the parent's choice, and
Sure.
if you feel like it's not, not a good decision right now, then it's fine. But at the same time, you shouldn't be getting bashed for it, you know.
No.
You know, made feel bad for this or that. You know, it's most people that I know that have gotten an abortion is pretty freaking, you know, not necessarily ashamed about it or anything, but more like kind of upset about the fact. You know, they don't want to talk about it, this, that. You know, and I understand, but at the same time, it's kind of, you know.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. I just, and we're not, again, I'm not trying to make anybody feel, you know, that's not, we're pretty simple about these things. Let me bring up some points. Gage, did you want to go first at all, or did you want to say anything?
Yeah,
sure.
I'll bring up a couple points. Okay. I wanted to play off of your point that, you know, the other side of things a lot of times uses these specific scenarios like rape or incest or anything to justify abortions, which, you know, I'm for abortion in that case, but those also make up less than 1% of the cases of abortion. And like you said, it is used as basically a contraceptive.
Right.
The second point that I wanted to bring up is that, you know, the majority of abortions in America, we can probably agree, happen in lower income communities, which they're getting, you know, through Planned Parenthood, through whatever means, either free or low cost. So that's going, you know, the taxpayers are paying for their, you know, decisions, which I don't agree with. Why should I have to pay for someone else's mistake?
Let me ask you
or
this.
Why should I have to pay for someone else's decision to, you know, have an abortion?
Would you be for, rather than paying, like, for Planned Parenthood, would you be for, like, paying for contraceptives for people, like the pill or, you know, condoms? Like, would you?
I mean,
would you be willing?
It's a cheaper alternative. It's a cheaper alternative.
Would
I don't
you be
think
willing
I should have
to do
pay
that?
for anybody's, you know,
I mean,
decisions. If they want to do that stuff, then they should have to pay for it.
I'm saying that,
you know, just like I'm not expecting anyone to buy my, you know, girlfriend's birth control or my condoms or whatever.
See,
you know, I don't think I should have to pay for anybody else's either.
Sure, I get what you're saying, man. But here's the thing, okay? We have these things, and it's a hot topic, you know, right now. We have to find solutions to these things because the argument of the people like you and I that might think otherwise, the thing is, people are like, okay, that's cool, they can have the baby, but then what happens to it? A lot of that. So we have to. So my thing is maybe reach a compromise to where it's like, okay, we're not going to pay for the abortion. I agree with that. That's a little too extreme. And I don't think you're right. I think everybody should be responsible for their own shit. However, that's not the case. So I think a good compromise would be like, I'd be much more inclined to just, you know, pay a little bit less for the, you know, obviously not for abortions, but hey, hand out free condoms and shit. If people need to go to places and you want answers to these kind of problems, that's a cheaper way to do that. I think it could please everybody.
The thing is, though, you can literally buy a condom out of a bathroom for like 75 cents. It's not like they're expensive.
The argument you're making, though, is that these problems arise from lower income people, right? And obviously, lower income people aren't necessarily getting contraceptives without really certainly worried about it or educated about it, correct? So that's what that's the argument. You're not honestly, seeing a lot of like the abortions that happen aren't coming from these rich families. They usually have the kids and they're well off, right? So we're addressing a lower income issue at this point.
But to suggest that they don't know what contraceptives are,
I'm not saying that. I didn't say that.
I think
I'm saying that they don't. They either aren't aware of it. A lot of people are actually taught now to abstain, and that's not a good approach anyway to these things. So
I agree with that as well. That, you know, we need to change the teaching in the schools and stuff like that, and start, you know, promoting safe sex instead of abstinence altogether, because I think it's unrealistic.
Yeah, but I'm saying also, in addition to that, to combat the argument that we don't give a fuck, you know, people obviously don't care about the baby, so I'd say that's even more of an argument for the abortion argument. But I think we have to we have to compromise really between what you're saying, the education, and between, you know, providing the contraceptives. I think there'd be less of a thing. And now I also want to bring up a point too.
My whole point is like I brought up a couple podcasts ago. One, I think that the education system needs to be changed around sex and stuff like that to, you know, like I said. And number two, yes, we do need to focus on what happens after the child is born. You know, we need to allocate more funding towards, you know, that kind of stuff instead of allocating the funding towards abortions. You know, instead of my tax money going towards abortions, why not put it towards, you know, actually helping the family or the child, you know, succeed in life? Or, you know, taking money that we have overseas and, stop spending billions of dollars overseas and start spending it over here on improving, stuff like that.
Sure. Caleb, do you want? Feel free to. Okay, I just said don't. Feel free to interrupt us, because we kind of get on these little. Okay, so, all right, so so let me present some other things to you. I'm surprised you said that, because you're just giving me shit about how we should put money into contraceptives, but I would be less inclined to do it after the fact. Because simply put this way, the people that are adopting children are not usually fucktards. If they do, they're usually good homes, more times than not. But those, not everybody gets adopted, as you know.
But not the one I'm talking about. The ones that end up in foster care.
But then I'm saying, okay, but
a great deal amount.
But here's the thing: I think that should all be privatized. I think the churches and all that do the best they can with what they're doing, and I think really the circumstances that after the child is born and put up in like foster care or whatever, what have you, I think you still give them a chance at life and to succeed. I think when you get an abortion at all, I think it obviously they don't even have a chance. Correct. I also think as far as the monetary value of all this, like I said, I think we need to focus more on the after effect. I think we should care, but I'm not in favor of like dumping more money into things that I'm uncertain about, because we all know that whenever the government or any other entities that control these kind of things, they don't go to what they say they go to.
I'm not for dumping more money into it. I'm for reallocating.
So instead of like
keep the same amount of stuff. Like, stop spending it on freaking giving $145 billion to Turkey for nothing. And reallocate it to that.
Well, I wouldn't even be for that. I don't even, like I said, I'm more, like, as you know, I'm more of like, do your own shit, you're responsible with it. But if we're talking from society, like I said, I have no control over that. So I have to expand my mind a little bit in that aspect. And I agree, that would probably be a better solution. But then again, is that really any better than paying just for the abortion? Like, let's be honest. Like, that's the abortion in that case.
Yeah, it is, because you give the child a chance at life.
Okay, now we're talking about opinions, and if we're talking about gambling anyway, so now we're going to waste other people's money for other people's, decisions in life, as well as
you're not wasting other people's money if it's already being spent in other places.
I know, but
you're still using the same amount of money. I'm not suggesting raising your taxes.
I understand that, but I would say, like, would people be on board with that, especially when we already have abortions? You see what I mean? Like,
I think they would.
Okay, but we could talk about that. But I'm just saying, like, we don't know. These are all things. If we're gonna, we'll say anyway. We'll say let's take away some money from the Planned Parenthood made from Turkey. We leave it to a vote, because maybe some people think we should do shit in Turkey, or maybe people would just want that money back. That's my whole point. My whole point being is, like, are they going to be inclined to, pay that money? I mean, that's quite a bit of money. What could we do with that money other than that, So, but my thinking is, we already have money set aside. Like, why would we reallocate money to other shit that we don't know if people will be on board for? Because my argument would be, we already have this is a hell of a lot cheaper, and this other money that you want to reallocate is already going to other shit. And why keep spending more money when we could just save that money if we're going to fucking take it out? Hold on. Wait,
if we reallocate money to contraceptives, like you're saying, right?
Bullshit. See, I was thinking you're saying, like, into foster care or whatever. And I'm like, these are... I don't know about that. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I don't think people would be inclined to that kind of thing. What you're saying, okay, I think more people would be inclined to do that. See, that's where we were disconnected.
Well, no. I mean, no, I'm not saying we should reallocate funds towards free contraceptives and stuff like that, because you know what happens whenever we give out free medicines and stuff like that. The pharmaceutical companies jack up the prices to ungodly numbers, and then you're spending more and more tax. It ends up like college tuition, basically.
Bro, it's free.
They'll charge $1,000 a pill or whatever because the government guarantees that they'll pay it. And then they'll just raise your taxes.
But here's the thing. If we're talking about alternatives to abortion,
But in the end, it doesn't make it cheaper.
Well, how? I'm saying if you're reallocating anyway, you're going to be spending that money and people have the option. I don't think it matters. Especially if you're taking the money from Planned Parenthood and not paying for abortion, but instead giving people condoms. And we're not even saying we're saying, like, you can walk into anywhere and you can get shit for free. That's all I'm saying. I think that'd be more... I think that'd
what
be more
I'm saying is, you're a big you're a big opponent of the pharmaceutical companies, correct? Mostly.
Like against.
Yeah, against.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
So then why would you want to give them more power over
I'm not saying them, Gage. I'm saying...
But who do you think makes those drugs?
Okay, but...
Who do you think makes the birth control
The thing
drugs?
is, we have the budget, and it doesn't matter how much past what the taxpayers are paying to, as long as they're not taking more from the people.
Well, if we have the budget, then why not focus on after the kid is born?
Why, though? I'm saying why, because if it's an unwanted child, they don't want it anyway. That's why you have the abortion.
Well, a lot of times, from,
this is how this goes.
Looking at it from a lower income standpoint, a lot of times people most likely have abortions because they see that, they're not going to be able to provide for their child. They're not ready for a child because, they're barely making it by as it is. So why not focus on the funding after the child is born to relieve that, burden instead of just handing out, contraceptives from the pharmaceutical companies that they can charge whatever they want to.
All right.
They already charge $100 for a freaking IV bag in a hospital that costs 10 cents to make.
Listen.
So why would I trust them?
I will rebuttal.
Doing that?
I will rebuttal. We're at the end of part 1. We're going to come back to part 2 with this. This is a pretty good conversation. We'll be right back. This is the Justice for All podcast, a special guest.